This is a question I've been getting a lot, both just people asking me directly and seeing it being asked around. But Tidal Rift Elvira has 100% critical hit resistance on her S3, and people have been noticing that they're just kind of randomly getting crit sometimes. This is going to be going over the rules behind critical hits and also critical hit resistance, and explaining why you're just getting crit sometimes even with 100% crit res. So they did actually just straight up explain it to us at one point. The reason we got this is really funny, which we'll cover later. The rules had already pretty much been worked out by various people in the community, and like we all knew what the rules were, or I guess some of us did, but they did eventually actually explain it, which was pretty nice to get official clarification. And this was, oh god, this was 3 years ago. Well, okay, so let's take a look at this first. Basically, so when you attack somebody, it goes your crit chance minus the target's critical hit resistance. That makes sense. And your crit chance, there's a lot of stuff, right? It's basically just your actual stat page, what you see on your stat page, and then you'll get additional boost from down here. They'll detail artifacts as well. So artifacts that just say increases critical hit chance, like period, those just boost your crit chance. They're effectively counted as your base stats. And also critical hit buff. So from like Furious S2 and Seed, or she doesn't do it anymore, but Cedom used to give critical hit buff on her S3. That is also effectively counted as your base crit chance while you have the buff. And then that entire base crit chance gets reduced by critical hit resistance. The basic level is just if you have 100% critical hit chance and they have 100% critical hit resistance, you won't crit them. It's 0. But there are certain things that they say, the way they describe it is you can temporarily pass the 100% cap, which is elemental advantage, and also skill effects during an attack. So this is stuff like Zahak is probably the most notable example, at least historically, because Zahak has 50% crit chance on his S1, and also 50% crit chance on his S3. And he was meta in Guild War defense for a certain period of time because of his crit chance on his skills. Like specifically because of that. There's one I'm actually not sure about. I'm sure people know whether or not this works, but Zio's DFI does give him crit chance when attacking. Wording wise, it sounds like it would work. I think that works, just not 100% sure myself. Anyways, that is what I mean by skill effects during an attack. So those two things can pass the 100% cap. So here they give an example. We're going to change the elements. If a light hero with 100% critical hit chance attacks a dark hero with 100% critical hit resistance, aka Tidal Rift Elvira, there's a 15% chance for you to get crit. And then also, if you have 100% crit chance, say Zahak with a 50% critical hit chance increase, his S1 and his S2 both have this, against a target with 100% critical hit resistance, then your base. So basically, they're just saying 100 minus 100 is 0, and then plus the 50 is 50. And Zahak's case was back then, Shu and Senya were meta on Guild War defense. So they both had, crit res in their kits. It was kind of annoying, and Zahak could deal with it pretty well because you would get 100% crit chance on Zahak plus the 50. He, as mentioned, where was it? Mentioned over here, you would have like a 50% crit chance minus the 50 crit res, and you'd be able to just, hit them through their crit res. It didn't really matter. So that was why he was used so much. And this example here with elemental advantage is one that you'll see pretty frequently with just Tidal Rift Elvira. She's going to have a 15% chance to get crit by light units, no matter what, pretty much. Some people might ask, what about the units that auto-crit? Like LQC just got buffed to do this, right? So like LQC, is it on her skills or in her passive? Well, always critical hit, always a critical hit. So now this got changed probably years ago at this point, but always critical hit means always critical hit. You will critical hit as long as you don't miss. It used to not do that. It technically used to be plus 100, which had some funny applications. Stuff like Charlotte, she's had this for a while, right? So she had 100, where does it say that she critical hit? So she had plus 100 critical hit from this, and then she has a base of 23, and also elemental advantage on, say, Senya. So you have 23 plus that is 38, and then plus 100 is 138, and you probably have like a spare crit chance roll or two, so it becomes like 143 versus Senya's 50 crit res on her S2. So even like Senya into Charlotte, you would get crit like 90% of the time, and it was not fun for the Senya player. So that was like an interaction that used to happen back then, but now the auto crits are just auto crits. You crit, it really is that simple. I feel like this interaction is kind of one that doesn't happen too much anymore. It's funny that it's popping up again now with Title Rift Elvira because of the elemental advantage situation. Maybe in the future we see some more units with like extra crit chance on their skills, and those could potentially be pretty good into Title Rift Elvira, but also auto crit kind of just makes it redundant. You don't need 100% extra critical hit chance if you just have effectively like 1,000,000% critical hit chance. So they also mentioned artifacts. I've realized that one of these kind of doesn't matter anymore, but there's two types of artifacts, and it's basically ones that are just counted as your hero's stats, and ones that are counted as attack skill effects. So they mentioned Manica of Control. Manica of Control got changed a while ago. Before, Manica of Control's crit chance effect only applied on single target attacks, if I remember correctly. So that was counted as, you know, like the Hawk, when attacking, if a single target attacked, then you get crit chance. Now it's just plus 15% crit chance. I'm now curious whether or not they actually, you know, accounted for that, because there was an issue with Black Hand of the Goddess. I'm pretty sure back then the crit chance also used to scale with how many attacks you did, which was horrendous because you would just stop critting after a certain point. But all of these artifacts aren't supposed to go past the 100% crit chance cap, basically. But Black Hand of the Goddess was. So they had to, you know, like, remove that. And that is what we had a patch for. Black Hand of the Goddess has a critical hit chance exceeding its maximum value. Basically means that it was going past the cap when it wasn't supposed to be. And we got a recall for it, and that's why we got this whole post about it. And then Black Hand of the Goddess also got changed, which it's like it still doesn't like pass the crit cap. It's just they fixed a thing where you would attack and stop critting after a certain point. Artifact still has no use, but with Manica of Control getting changed, I think there's actually just no artifacts that fall in the latter situation anymore. Maybe we'll see like an artifact in the future, but all these ones here just increases critical hit chance by 15%, no conditions, that's counted as your base crit. So unless I'm forgetting stuff, which is very, very possible, I don't think there are any artifacts that actually fall under that, you know, part of your attack player classification. The way I visualize it is you have your base crit chance, which is just, you know, your stat crit chance plus any sort of crit chance from artifacts, and then crit chance buff. And then that, you hit the enemy, you take their crit res, and then after the crit res is applied, then you just add on elemental advantage, and then it also checks if you're like attacking, and then the skill or the extra crit chance from skills goes in. Again, this is like largely not that relevant because auto crit units actually auto crit now, but the light thing, just randomly getting crit by light units, is definitely a thing. So hopefully this cleared up some things for people that were just confused why they were getting crit. I do kind of want to check Manica of Control now. Maybe we can get another recall going if they forgot to fix it.